These stories are true. It's about my buddy and I, the roadmap of what we did in our lives from the 70s. The first story is, and how it relates is the courier services that are being discussed and basically restructured throughout the United States. USPS, UPS, FedEx. I'm getting a lot of comments about, this opportunity because people are on social media, okay, and they're talking about it. Right now, they're talking about layoffs, all right? They're talking about buyouts, requesting. Eventually, people don't realize this, but it's very important to have a goal. When you work for the federal government, you should know that it might be the NFL. What's the NFL? It's not for long, okay? NFL stands for not for long. It could be in pro sports, it could be in the public sector, it could be in the private sector, no matter what. And today's market, and I always look at the fourth quarter of a business, of the business environment, okay? And most of it is, most people have to restructure for the next year. For an example, people are looking at 2026, 2027. Trump is looking at the next 4 years, as we know, our country, all right? How do they look at this? What about the midterm elections? You see, everyone's always looking ahead. The stock market looks ahead, all right? Well, that's what you should be doing. USPS, UPS, FedEx, don't forget Amazon and DHL. All this restructuring in the public sector, what I mean by that are the public companies are downsizing. They might be calling it right-sizing. And when they make a proposal to your union or an employee, it's really, you have to think this through because you're a target. You're a target to cut you loose. And sometimes the first offer is the best offer. It's like real estate. When they say 99% of when you sell your house, that first offer is actually your best offer. A lot of people hold back. Why? Greed, power, decision making. They get too emotionally involved. If they take it personal, if it's a insulting offer. Well, guess what? A lot of it is negotiations. I believe in negotiating. So let me tell you about Victor. Victor's roadmap was basically an heavy equipment operator. He went to school for it, which they called back in those days a technical school. What he found out after graduation and hopefully finding a job, it was seasonal. Sure, the pay is high because you looked at the hourly rate or the union scale and so on. But what they didn't tell you is you're out of work 6 months out of the year in Minnesota or more. And most of all, your body takes a fucking beating. And that's what he saw, saying to himself, oh my God, physically I can't take this. And you're basically out of work 6 months out of the year after year after year, okay? And in today's market, we know it's all about AI and improving yourself. What are you going to do next? And I look at it like the NFL, not for long. You always have to continually grow. Now, the next step that my buddy Victor is, he was a city driver of courier services for many years, regional, city, and so on. Then he graduated to the point where he went to DHL. DHL is German owned, but it's worldwide, as we know. They got the cool logo, the yellow and the red, showing efficiency and speed and so on, okay? And then he said, Rock, this is tough work, man. So he got the referral of a city worker. There was an opening at the St. Paul, Minnesota City Works, and he got in. How did he get in? A clean record. People underestimate a clean record. Do you have a clean record? So you need to keep moving up. It's just like anything else in a career or what I call the successful pillars, the foundation and the mastery. He became a master at servicing the consumer, okay? servicing and deliveries, servicing and taking care of the city, and so on. And what did he eventually do? Did he get a buyout? No. Not the state of Minnesota. Okay, not the city. Okay. What they got is a retirement, great pension plan, and benefits. So he lasted. Kept clean, just did what he had to do, didn't infringe on any penalties, because I know people that also did a few things wrong where they actually fired him. Okay? So I called my buddy Victor to say, listen, if you had to do it all over again, now that he's retired and loves his pension, and he did everything right financially, because what did he do? He hired a financial advisor, him and his wife. And they basically planned it out over 30, 35 years. Could we retire? And most people, if you live amongst your means and watch what you do, you could end up with as much or less spending as when you lived a ongoing employed position. Okay? Now, I asked Victor, what would you do with the circumstances of today? DHL, FedEx, UPS, USPS, Amazon, and now they're talking about Walmart breaking into the logistics delivery services, okay, versus outsourcing. They're going direct. What would you do, Victor? He goes, no doubt about it, USPS, because you have security there. You have exclusivity there. You have all the benefits long term. You could count on USPS being around 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and so on, with great benefits. And if you do like most people do, or should do, is invest in yourself, retirement, Roth, traditional IRAs. They have a matching program. They have all the great benefits. They have all the things that you need as, let's say, a working person, to the point where, could you be the millionaire next door? You're damn right you could. Now, I said, Tex, Victor, all this shit is happening, man. You know, what would you do in today's market? And he said, it's a no-brainer. You got to turn the light on, turn the bulb on, get these people to really understand that this is about you and your future and your family. It's not about the unions. It's not about your employer, because once that first offer is out there, you might not get it the second time around. You know what's coming. You know what's coming. And that offer might be the only shot you get. So you got to make a decision. So I'm trying to say to you, with all these comments on my TikTok and my YouTube about USPS and now the UPS dilemma, or let's say choices, you're going to have to make some choices. Now, will you be one of the lucky ones that be offered this opportunity? Now, this is what I would do if I wasn't part of that 20,000 that they're going to buy out, employees at UPS. I'd first of all find out, not from the union, I'd find out what my choices are. And you start with your boss. And don't forget, your boss might not be honest with you. So you might have to go to HR. Find out really what the agreement is, what that opportunity is that's on the table. Then you go back and you start talking to your financial advisor or your wife or someone that's you trust, that's knowledgeable about your future, about your long term. Then what I would do is really say, man, that's a gift. I'm going to take it while I can, no matter what age you are. Because with that, if you have a good record on top of it, you could go to these regionals. The regionals are going to start growing. Or if you really want to make a haul, try to qualify at USPS. Don't forget, though, your background check. People underestimate how important that background check is in your history, the integrity, your reputation, because you're going to get referrals. Because at the end of the day, it's really who you know that's going to be referred in today's world. Okay, you could go on LinkedIn and get recruiters and all this, but at the end of the day, it takes, especially if you're a white collar person, a professional, and you're looking for top pay, people don't realize today, especially in my world, which is the printing industry, high-end white collar recession is only going to get worse because private equity's in there, and private equity is going to take care of themselves. These are people that have equity positions. Do you think they really care about the people? No. It's about their pockets. It's about their investment and their margins that they're going to receive after 5 years, 7 years, and so on. So they're going to start cutting back. And after talking to recruiters that have shared with me, what are the top things that people underestimate once you lose your job, get laid off, got a severance package or whatever it is? It's the non-compete. The non-compete stands. And private equity, they will pay to acquire top people to remain with them, and they could make it miserable for you. And eventually they're going to try to buy you out, or they'll figure out a way to let you go, okay? After everything is cleaned up. And it usually takes 6 months to a year to really find out where the top people are. So going back to the recruiter, he says, Rock, it's the non-compete that could be devastating for people. Number two, they're not going to pay for relocations. So, and a lot of people demand to be local. And the new owner and private equity especially needs to be local. They want you to report. And number three is, what is your value? There's only two things about getting hired. Number one, if you got sales ability, if you got relationships, how you're going to transition those firms into the new buyer. And eventually they're going to be watching you. Okay? And then solutions. What solution do you bring to the new employer? Now, I'm talking to you about private equity and acquisitions. Why? Because that's where the world's going today. If you're hired by a family business or a small business, it's short term, man. It's short term because there's no loyalty. Because the potential seller, the founder, the entrepreneur, the first thing they think about is their family. That's the first thing. First of all, themselves, about their investment. And they're going to try to maximize that. Second of all, is the business sustainable for the family to carry on? What if the family doesn't want the business? They just want daddy's and mommy's cash. And that's not going to happen. I've seen too much of that. Okay? And number three, when it comes down to a seller, an entrepreneur, a founder, and the family business, number three, it's going to revert back to themselves. Because there's no loyalty. No matter if you spent 25, 30 years with these people, it's very few that are loyal to just a few of the employees. And I've been in business for 50 years. I've seen mergers. When I say I've been involved with the seller, the buyer. I know what sellers are interested in selling. I know what the buyers are willing to acquire. And it's very systematic today, and it's very strategic. It's very strategic. And if you built a business for 40 years, and I've seen this, I've seen 40 years, and they just built a personal piggy bank instead of really building the business for a successor, okay? And I've only seen 3 sellers in my lifetime, in the hundreds of deals that I've done, or at least been involved with, that actually took care of some of the employees on the way out. Very few is what I'm saying. And you know what's really interesting is the greedy guys, or greedy families that sold their businesses, a lot of them do not plan on what we call a post-transaction. They don't really think about act situations. They don't think about what they're going to do in the future. And what I'm saying is it's very difficult. Now, I mentioned about Victor's roadmap. side by side, because we've been best friends all the way from high school, is my roadmap is all over the board, because I had more or less creative intelligence. Okay? My creative intelligence was risk-taking. It wasn't academic. I was boots on the ground and house of hard knocks. And I've had great mentors. And, you know, I educated myself, too, about what I'm talking about, okay? Because I've seen it. Now, you know, we talk about the unions of public companies, Teamsters, UPS, FedEx, and whoever else got unions. The federal government now, you know, no one's going to save them. Unions won't save you. They won't save you. In fact, the people that I know that retired on a union pension, basically within 5-10 years, they're insolvent. You know what I mean? They just go out of business. There's just no more unions, you know? And I've seen a seller, I worked with a seller at one time. The family was underfunding the union. And it's so sad because I don't think these people are knowledgeable about the risk they're taking by believing that the union's going to take care of them. It doesn't happen. There's one company in Minnesota, and a printing company that was a union company for 3-4 generations. They sold the company. They were liquidating. Sold the company. It was a union shop, and the buyer moved it to another state where no more union. So after 30-40 years, some of these employees, that was it. No pension. There's no security. It's not like a bank, you know, where they got FDIC. This is why you have to educate yourself. That's one thing that Victor told me. He says, the big thing is educate yourself and not counting on the union, not counting on anyone else. But if you're being proposed a gift of 1 year on benefits and so on, you could take that and maximize it and then move on to another project. Just make sure you have a complete release. They call it a release. So you have no non-compete. You could go work for a competitor. You could go to USPS, who's hiring right now. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. So that's what I'm trying to say, and I try to answer all these, questions. And everybody throws everything out there because it's a lot of fake news. Rock, it's not happening, not under my watch. Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's truth and what's not truth. I just heard, you know, that this offer is out there. So guess what? My proposal to you is start thinking for yourself, like I've been saying. Victor did it, and he's a blue-collar guy, hard-working guy, you know, and he's so happy that he stuck it out. He stayed the course, kept clean, and honored the employment contracts, whatever they are, and didn't go haywire. What did I do? I had to do the same thing. My roadmap was go independent, Rock, because how I really got kicked in the balls and kicked out of my existing own company, it was like Steve Jobs got fired. I was basically being let go. Okay? Why? Because the family wanted it, and they didn't value my services, which was 80-90% of the sales. In other words, I was making too much money. And that's happened to me on other gigs too, where I said, okay, I'll get paid on commission. And then it's not just being paid on commission, it's getting paid as promised. And that's when I learned about termination contracts. Okay? But my former partner had to buy me out of my contract. And thank God I did my investigation. What did I do? I hired a tax advisor and said, listen, first of all, I got a valuation done. What's the valuation of this company? Once I found that out, I got a lawyer, and I started negotiating, cut my own deal, just like Trump would do. Go out there, you cut your own deal, throw spaghetti at the wall, and try to max out. 19 months later, sign my contract. I never looked back. I was never fucking owned by anybody. You see? That's what one of my mentors said. Rock, the goal is, he was probably 20 years older than me, and he passed away in his mid-70s about 10 years ago. And he was great because he says, Rock, the goal is independence and freedom. Because once you get the independence and the freedom, you got peace. And you're your own person. And besides employment, it includes marriages or married. If you don't have a supportive spouse like Victor did, like my father did, it's going to be bad news, man. I got a lot of critics out there. So my message to you, if you're in the logistics profession, in the delivery services and so on, yes, there is change, just like there's change in the world today with tariffs and deliveries and so on. And everybody likes getting things delivered, correct? You need that. But guess what? If the shareholders aren't happy with their margins, where do they start? They start at the top, just like USPS did. They got rid of DeJoy. His name was DeJoy. Got rid of him. They brought in this guy that's got a lot of experience and efficiency. And do you think that these people that take these jobs working for the federal government are well paid? No. This David Steiner probably took a cut in pay, tremendous pay, just like Trump. You think Trump is well paid as our president? No. In fact, he doesn't take a salary. He donates it. You know what I mean? That's when you talk about difference makers. Those are people that really care. And so this David Steiner is the new CEO and driver of the new culture, the new environment, to cut this deficit down tremendously and change the culture and improve things. Why? The goal is to break even with the USPS. Okay? So I wish him luck, man. Where UPS, FedEx, DHL, I believe DHL is also a public company out of Germany. Hey, it's all about the shareholders, man. But now with USPS, with all these downsizing and right-sizing of these companies, and don't forget, USPS outsources to UPS, to FedEx. They have contracts that go out, okay? They have contracts that go out, and they have to bid on them, okay? Big business, just like their new vehicles. They're re-evaluating that because of Doge. You know, Musk came in there and said, hey, man, they're way overpaying for these vehicles. Their timeline's bad. It's not the EV all the way. It's gas and EV. And Tesla got involved now and so on. And then what else? It's 250 years. They might be looking at a new culture. They want their people happy and motivated. You see, I'm talking about USPS. And there's what? 600 plus 1,000 employees of USPS besides couriers, city carriers. What is it? There's about 200,000? Yeah. So there's opportunity. So I'm just trying to respond to everybody to say, listen, if you're currently in that position where you're fearful or you think you're getting fucked over by this buyout and so on, think twice, man. And don't think that whatever union you're in is going to take care of you. They're not. It's you and your family. You're the one that's of value. You got to protect your value. You got to protect your benefit program. You got to protect yourself. And if it's not for you, move on. Move on. And this is what's going on in today's world. Every 5 years. It's not like my parents' 40-year, 50-year careers. I got a 50-year career, but I got 8 different businesses that I've been in. And where was I intelligent? No. I was in the dumb role, ROW, okay? I had a reading issue, comprehension issue. I was held back in first grade. I wasn't proud of that. But today I'm saying, yeah, I did good. And I look at Victor and I say to myself, hey, man, good for you, man. I'm calling him to say, how'd you do it, Tex? That's his nickname. How'd you do it? And you know what? He's happy. He stayed the course. He stayed clean. Him and his wife had a financial goals and plans. Now they're retired. Now they travel, they have grandchildren, they have a life. And most of all, like he says, is, Rock, I'm in good shape. I'm in good shape after all this physical abuse of being a laborer. That's really what he was. Okay? So, in my case, I had to focus on my health, you know? Most of all is high blood pressure and things like that. So, I hope this answers a lot of the questions. I'm trying to come up with ideas, creative ideas for you to really think about your financial situation. Not only in the short term, the long term. And when I say the long term, it could be 3 years, 5 years, or whatever. Going back to white collar recession, a lot of these guys that are making six figures because they were working for a family business, they were working for a company that was established years ago and now it's private equity. Hey man, you're a target. You're a target. And what's really difficult is your image when you're let go. And the other thing is, it takes a couple years to really find something. And the other thing the recruiter brought up to me was, Rock, usually it's the compensation is reduced by 30 to 50%. And as I mentioned before, you got to bring value, you got to prove yourself, you be a solution maker. And that's why I believe in being independent and calling your own gig, being a consultant of some sort or whatever. So I hope this helps to come up with some ideas on, and you have time. Usually when these proposals are sent out or incentives, they give you, 90 days to think it through. So get on it right away, man. Get on it right away. And you don't want to miss that window of opportunity, because if you miss it, it's not going to get any better than the initial incentive that they send you, because they want to get rid of you for whatever reason. Your pay, your performance, and it's all about the shareholders. And believe me, the CEO of a public company is making a lot of money, man. A lot of money. And why are they there? It's like the joy. You're there for short term, and if you don't perform, you're out. That's what these people are doing. They're trying to make a difference financially for the shareholders. And there's competition, man. Understand that USPS FedEx lost a 4-year contract this past, 6 months to UPS. And you would think UPS is doing better. No. 90% of their revenue, my understanding, comes from Amazon. Amazon outsources to UPS. What's UPS doing? They're bringing it back in-house. They call it back in-house. Margins are better. That's why you're starting to see more and more Amazon direct deliveries. In my understanding, Walmart. Yeah, because that's where the margins are. And guess who pays the least amount of all these? Amazon. And you're just a contract worker. These people aren't stupid. This is all about them. And unions are out, man. Unions are out. But like I said, the biggest issue is if that union goes insolvent, you're fucked. Which has happened to people that I know in the printing industry. It went defunct and their pension went away. And they were counting on this 10 years ago when they retired. Yeah. And now they're in their 70s and 80s and handicap and walkers and stuff, and they were counting on that besides Social Security. Social Security is, petty cash. That's why you got to watch how you're living, your cost of living, your overhead. This is why the Trump administration has changed all those, one big beautiful bill. It's really about tax advice for the rich and for the rest of us. Okay? It's beneficial, especially seniors. It helps us. Okay? So I'll let you go, but I just wanted to keep continuing on. And I want to thank everybody for commenting. I don't know it all. I'm just saying, hey, if I were in your position, this is what I would do. And you got to take care of yourself. That's the bottom line. My father would always say that. Just take care of yourself. And it's true. You got to take care of yourself. You don't know what's going to happen to yourself, health-wise, or your career, or whatever it is. You just don't know. So God bless you, man. I'll talk to you soon. And as you know, very soon.